Well, probably the best way to do it is to explain each business unit quickly. There's about 7 or 8 of them. Canada, if we split Canada between Western Canada and Eastern Canada, Eastern Canada would have farm retail business units in Quebec and Ontario. Ontario would also service Atlantic Canada. And that is serviced by sales agents going direct to farmer for forage crop and hybrid corn sales. Also in Ontario, Atlantic Canada, and Quebec would be a brand called Maple Seed, which is a separate set of forage crop varieties, and that would be geared towards the farm dealer market. And you may want to say, well, how does that work? Well, Maple Seed can compete against Pickseed, and well, let me just complicate it one matter further. We also have a wholesale business unit in Winnipeg, and it's dedicated to export multiplication contracts, which is one of the reasons we're at the ISF, but also does turnkey programs for other companies that don't want to do forage crop production on their own. So for instance, we supply a significant amount of forage crops to Co-op Federer. So if you put all these 3 factors together, for instance, the wholesale supply to Co-op Federer within Co-op Federer branded bags, the Maple Seed program through independent farm dealers in Quebec, for instance, and the Pickseed agent selling Pickseed varieties and Pickseed bags direct to the farmer in Quebec, you have a situation where we're using 3 different marketing channels to get to the Quebec farmer. And we use this model throughout the United States as well, where we have 2 brands, mainly in the United States, Pickseed and Seed Research of Oregon. And the reason, again, separate varieties for both programs, and they can compete against each other. And usually, however, there's some discussion about how that competition unfolds, because the market's pretty large, and it's a distributor-based market, and it's largely turf grass in the United States. So you can have a situation where Pickseed can be servicing one distributor in a particular geographic region, and, so to speak, the distributor on the other side of the street from that distributor that are competing can use the seed research program. So we use the brands, different brands, to gain additional market share within particular regions, and then manage the internal conflicts that can sometimes arise through the internal competition. The only thing I think I haven't explained, well, in Canada there's another division in Eastern Canada, we call it the Pro Turf Division. It's professional turf distribution using the Pickseed varieties from Pickseed, Oregon, to distribute to golf courses and landscapers, sod farmers, etc. And finally, there's a consumer turf division, also centered in Eastern Canada, but distributes throughout Canada through our partner, strategic partner, which is Premier Tech, which was formerly SureGrow, formerly Spectrum Brands, right. New Grow, several years ago. And those brands would be CIL Golf Green, Vigoro, and so on. And it's the same sort of approach with the way Premier Tech does it. They use brand channeling to expand their distribution base. So for instance, CIL Golf Green you'll find in Canadian Tire, Vigoro you'll find in Home Depot, etc. And there's also a Pickseed brand, which I believe is used in home hardware. So that's a bit of a long story, and I haven't covered the West where you're from. We also have a fairly extensive Western operations business unit, which distributes mainly to farm dealers, and that would be forage crop seed and turf grass as well.